Hi, I'm Helen Letchfield. I'm the co-founder of P&P Coaching, Parent and Professional. And today I'm joined with Ian Dinwiddy, who is one of our dad coaches, just to talk about some of the latest things that have been happening in the news about parental leave.
Hi Helen, thank you very much for having me on. Yeah, as you say, I specialise in working with dads, in particular men who are facing the parental transition, certainly first-time dads in particular. Really enjoy working with that group of men, helping them to understand how to balance work and family life.
Great. So I just wanted to talk to you very briefly today, Ian, about something that's been in the news recently around the fact that there are examples of organisations who are using policy changes such as enhanced paternity pay as an attraction tool. And this has moved on quite a lot, I think, since maybe the last sort of couple of years. And I just wondered what your thoughts were around that, really, using paternity pay as an attraction tool to get the best talent in.
I think it's a fascinating trend. I think it's a trend that we see on several different levels, and in many ways it highlights the disparate nature of paternity leave in this country. Because at the one side you have a large number of corporate businesses who are enhancing paternity leave. The gold standard seems to be sort of 26 weeks fully paid leave, can be taken, by either parent. It's designed to neutralise challenges around primary and secondary carers, and you've got that end. You've got more and more businesses in that part of that part of the workplace, large businesses in particular. And then you also have 2 weeks of statutory leave, which is the government minimum, which in comparison is low paid, and it's minimal. And also this sort of third tier where you have for self-employed, there are no paternity or maternity rights at all. So you have this intriguing kind of landscape. But what it does point to, certainly in terms of those organisations who can afford to spend and invest in their people in that way, is that it's becoming a point of difference. I think in many ways it's been driven by the first adopters. So those businesses came in first, the likes of Zurich and Aviva in particular, sort of turn up on this list. What they found that when you ring fence well-paid leave, and you expect, and culturally internally you expect and allow and sort of enable men to take the leave, then they will take it. And so it starts to become more and more businesses start to look around and say, actually, when we're benchmarking our benefits, where do we sit? I think in some cases saying, actually, we're a bit behind the curve, and there's this kind of snowball effect where because men are taking it, other men are taking it, saying, actually, well, and the conversations are starting to take place. I think, how much leave can you take? What's your statutory paternity leave like? Men are having these conversations, and it's driving change. And you only have to look at the examples of Aviva. But much more recently, the general trend towards flexible working. Government Behavioural Insights team in Zurich, Shura did some work pre-pandemic for a year, and they changed all of their job descriptions to include that they were open for flex. All jobs were open for flexible working. And what they found pre-pandemic was that men were equally as likely to apply in greater numbers to those roles as women were. So starting to unpick this sense that actually flexible working, extended leave is something that's just for women, just for mums, just for carers, and it's gendered. Actually, when you open it up, men do take it, and it changes the culture within those organisations. It becomes much more family friendly. And I think these moves towards improved paternity leave are actually part of a bigger picture around improving gender equality, and certainly seeing that men and women within the workplace are equally as likely to want to take extended leave, equally as likely to access flexible working. I think that's a big benefit internally and also within society more generally.
Yeah, so I guess it's another way, I suppose, to make sure that your culture within the organisation is becoming more family friendly. I guess it's an ingredient, isn't it, or a piece of the jigsaw that goes into the bigger picture of creating a family friendly, progressive and flexible culture. So I guess it can be welcomed from that perspective, and it's got to start with the policy, hasn't it? Because there's no point in putting on all of these extra support measures to help dads at work if they can't help provide the basics, the bread and butter, you know, the pay, the policies, the procedures, and have those in place. And I guess the two things that you just said that you're picking up on around the snowballing effect. So we've also noticed that as well. So if a couple of dads take extended leave and they have positive experiences and they share it, it's more likely that others do it. So I guess that could be encouraged as well by the enhanced paternity pay. And also something else that you mentioned as well, which is around the reputational side of it. We know that, like you said, dads talk, and they talk not just in professional circles but also in social circles about what their companies and their organisations provide them with. And I think to be known as an organisation that supports you in your role as a dad, in your role as your working life and your family life, must be, well, it can only be positive, really, can't it?
It is, and I every so often I kind of screenshot these examples from LinkedIn where you have dads holding their baby, talking about and long detailed posts about how grateful they are to their business, you know, for supporting their opportunity to spend more time to bond with their children, to learn those kind of solo parenting skills. And those posts get enormous numbers of likes, enormous numbers of impressions, lots and lots of comment. And every time that happens, that's a you know, massive benefit for the business in terms of sort of organic, really human stories and organic kind of reach for publicising what a great place those businesses are to work in.
Great. So paternity pay, enhanced paternity pay, is a great start, and it's great to go hand in hand with other things which hopefully will then lead the way, because the more dads we have taking the leave, the more they get talking, the more they become role models, and the more hopefully we then create family friendly cultures.
Yeah, and it's a generational shift, and it's moving in a really positive way, I think.
Great. Thanks for your thoughts, Ian.
Thanks, Helen.